Right. Tech as a web service, that's a good segue for my talk, Jonathan. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, just a brief history. I'm a physicist, and I started a company in '88. We were called Focal Image Limited. That was just a reminder by Peter. And now, over 10 years, we've been trading as River Valley Technologies. I started in illustration and tech typesetting. So we're in UK, and we've got multiple offices in India. Staff are our most important asset. These are our guys in India, and this is about 2-3 months ago at the Onam celebrations, which is the harvest festival in Kerala, in South India. I was there. So these are little flower petals that they put together to make a huge, gigantic. They spend all day doing this, take a photo, and then next day sweep it up again. So grateful for these guys who've been with us. On average, these guys have been working with me for over 10 years, so it's like a family. Many of them 16, 17 years. We've probably got one of the highest tech concentrations. We worked out well over 500 man-years of sort of tech expertise. So we're proud of that, and our clients are people like in physics. Over the years, we've worked with these people, and the business is typesetting academic books and journals. I hate the word typesetting. I hate the idea of typesetting, and we want to move forward, and this is partly what I'm talking about. So for 15 years, we've been producing XML to PDF with full automation. I think we are the only people still doing it. Everyone says they're doing it, but I think we are the only ones who are actually taking XML, pressing the button, PDF comes out via tech. If you lose your PDF, we press a button and it comes out again. So it's all automated. So about 8 years ago, we thought, right, we have all this knowledge, and we press a button, and the PDF comes out, then we send it to the client. So why don't we put all this on the web, and the client can press the button? Yeah? So we've got a lot of staff, we've got, lots of people, as you saw. So what are they going to be doing? Well, they are going to be there if there's a problem. If some page doesn't paginate properly, the client can press the button, help, and immediately we get an email automatically. They fix it, done, and they carry on. That's the idea. The publishing right now, in many ways, hasn't changed for decades, right?
Hundreds.
Even hundreds. In some ways, you're right. If you look back at what people,
workflow is exactly the same as Gutenberg.
You're right. Now, you're old enough to remember. That's really good. I'm glad you interjected there.
Other people might.
I think there's a. Let's not talk about age. Will be embarrassing for most of us. So what happens right now? I mean, I don't know if you're familiar. The author will send a file, usually a Word file, almost always a Word file or a text file. We were talking about this, Joseph, to the publisher, either via an email attachment or via some sort of system. Then that goes from the publisher to peer reviewer, sends it back to the publisher, goes back to the author, back to the publisher, maybe back to the reviewer, says okay, then it's copied, typeset, proof goes to the publisher, to the author, back to the publisher, etc. It's always something that's going back and forth. Now, it used to be a A4 paper, you all remember.
Full scale.
Now it is a PDF attachment or a Word attachment. So we looked at this, we thought, look, this is not very good. Now, everyone in the world, every publisher wants XML. XML because it's a description of the content. In principle, if you do it right, it is future-proof. You can produce anything from it in future. It's nothing to. It's just content, not style. So we thought, okay, let us put XML right in the center of our universe. The author writes. Just imagine the author logs in, says, I want to write a paper. Instead of writing offline and pressing the button and sending this thing, paginated, say, a PDF or Word or TeX file for those few, they press a button online, a bit like, say, Google Docs, but XML is created right at the start. Okay? It's an XML writer. And if there are more authors, they can write collaboratively. So a bit like what we were talking about, Overleaf, Share LaTeX, etc. But XML is the native format. Okay? Publisher gets a notification. We've got a file. They have a look at it. Yeah. Press, goes to peer reviewer. Peer reviewer puts some comments in. And everything's happening on the XML. And you enrich the XML by putting things in there, all the comments in there, all the reviews in there.
In the XML with the
Correct. Yeah.
and you think the reviewers are going to do that?
They won't see the XML, no. But your front end will be user friendly. But without you knowing, no one sees the XML. Okay. Copy editor copy edits without knowing it. There it's in the XML. Proofreader, etc. Publisher at the end says, we're ready, I accept all these changes, presses the button, and that XML automatically becomes PDF, EPUB, even Word, if you really want, HTML, etc. And yes, we do have a word filter from XML to Word. Okay? That is the ideal, we thought. So we started to build this, and now we've done it. And I'd like to give you a live demo in the lion's den, to get my head bitten off by Jonathan and Joseph and people like that. So we've got a modular system. We've built a collaborative authoring system where XML is the native format. The only thing saved to disk is XML, nothing else. Peer review. Reviewer goes in, puts comments in, inside the XML. Copy editing, proof checking. Again, right now, checking proofs. It's years and years since I wrote a paper, but right now you get a PDF back with annotations. You have to go in. It's a pain for everyone. Even if there are two little changes, you have to check very carefully at every stage because it's the final stage. Finally, we have the module called the formatter, RV formatter we call it. That goes from XML to PDF, etc. And that's where TeX comes in, right at the end. So what we're doing is using TeX as a backend without the publisher or anyone else knowing that TeX is used. We're getting TeX in. So this is TeX being used by people who don't even know TeX, people who wouldn't even write TeX. That's the idea. So if you're ready, I can attempt a live demo.
Go for it.
Thank you. I got a go ahead from.
That's done.
Okay. Let's see if.
More than Joseph did. Joseph didn't give us a live demo.
I was thinking of deliberately making talking, but
He's never checked anything in the program.
Okay. Can you all see this? Okay. I've logged in. Welcome test. Mr. Test logged in. So basically, this is our sandbox. So we try different things, but it gives you the idea. Let me maybe the font a little bit bigger. Here I've got things that I've already checked out, nothing, and these are things that I can check out. Okay. So everyone who goes in, it's role-based. So depending on who you are, it shows you different amount of information, and it allows you to do different things. So an author only sees whatever they've authored themselves. A copy editor sees the thing, whatever they can copy edit. The journal editor sees everything, can do different things. Right? So let's take one of these. I'll say, yeah, I want to take this one. I click on it. The internet is not, okay, click again. Yeah, I didn't click on it. Right. What you see here, this looks like a It's a web page. Yeah. Again, I have to sort of compromise and make these a little bit there. I can't do anything with this. It's a web page, right?
Yeah.
However, I'm allowed to check this out. And as soon as I check out, I get some extra buttons. Yeah. And again, because of the resolution I'm changing, this looks a little bit, these are not aligned, but normally they're aligned. Now, I can just double click here and this becomes editable. What we're looking at, so we're using the normal HTML tools like, you know, TinyMCE, etc. These are all available. The important thing here is that what you see here is saved as XML, not HTML, and it's converted back into HTML to edit, and I'll show you that. Okay, so here is some text, right? I delete this. I make this
Highlight.
bold italic. Yeah. If I'm a copy editor, I can say author, please check. Ooh, I've got a shortcut there. Please check. Yeah. And if, of course, we love math, so we put a tech box here. So we put, obviously if you're a heavy tech author, you'll be using tech, but otherwise you can beta, gamma.
Can there be arbitrary tech?
Sorry?
Can there be arbitrary tech, or is it just a distinct subset?
This is arbitrary tech.
So you can do defs and
No,
Not
no,
that.
no. I'm
Not
sorry.
that
You can.
arbitrary.
You can write. You can do that. This uses MathJax.
Yeah.
So if you really want to put MathJax, allows you to define within there. You can put a definition, and it'll work. But this is not really supposed to be. It's not heavy math. If you're a tech user, you'll use tech. If you want to use definitions, you'll take. This is to put one equation. But you can put as many as you like. So what I'm showing you, this is the whole system. This is for the 99%, right?
Yeah.
Except 10 of us in here who use tech. This is for people who don't use tech, but they can easily use.
But if they don't use tech, then they won't like that either.
Well,
They want the word
maybe,
frame editor
yeah.
and insert
Then we
symbols.
can. Then you have you use the HTML interactive equation editors. Yeah.
Does it turn the maths into images?
No.
I just wonder why that square, if you look at square root of 7 in the document there, sort of misaligned.
Okay. No, I think that's just okay. So this is what I put in here. So if I knew I'd get into trouble with you guys. No, it's just a display thing. Yeah, yeah. If I double click that, square root of gamma. So square root of gamma, I don't know, squared. Let's see if that. It's a display thing for it. It's MathJax there. It's a little bit. Okay.
Oh, I see. It's just
Yeah.
this is what MathJax has done.
Yeah. Sorry. What I did was I did this. So I'll put some more text here. I'll do this again, bold, italic, and I'll put. So if I just say save, there we go. So what it does is gives you complete sort of track changes, if you like. Yeah. So that's added. If I hold over here, it says added bold, added italic. Okay. All of this information is saved in the XML, which I'll show you now. View, what we call rich XML. Okay. So what I've done is somewhere over here it'll say added, yeah, content. There we go. So for example here, I made this bold and italic. So it says we put a span, yeah.
Oh, it's lunch. Open the door.
Any editorial changes, thank you, are saved in the XML. My goodness, invasion.
Are you going to stay for lunch?
Sorry? Yes.
It's usually
Do you have your own schema for the XML?
This is,
A
yeah,
little bit of editing with that video version.
Yes.
this
So you
is,
can do a long comma.
the XML you see here is the DT according to a DTD or schema of the publisher. So there's a one-time configuration. So the publisher knows
So it's
that the native format is their archive, is their XML. So we have a one-time configuration to read this immediately back into HTML. Okay? So whatever we do is saved in there. Now, let me log out. Sorry. Let me check this in. And log out. And I'll log in as someone else. And say, which one was it? I think it's this one. Yeah. So now I check this one out, and you see it's pretty fast. It's very nimble. There's not a lot of baggage. Again, now I delete this, and again I say bold italic, and save. What we have again now, if you got 5-6 people making changes, you forget who did what. So what we've got is a paragraph-based system where you can see who did what. So that's the latest version. Kaveh did this, Test did this, etc., etc., going back all the way back. Okay. So so you see there are XML editors out there, but they're quite difficult to use. You have to read a manual, and basically Joe Blogs is not going to use it. So here, there's no manuals, right? This is what you expect from an editor. You've seen this sort of editor on the web. So we've got HTML editor, everything that people are familiar with, but it's saved as XML. Now we've put a lot of things in here. So for example, the references, it's automatically colored. It takes the XML so that you can see it's tagged properly. The year is tagged properly here. If I want to edit, I go in here and I can edit. I can say no, the first author shouldn't be there. Puts a line through there. When you produce finally the PDF, everything is correct, right? Everything. I'll show you that in a minute. So this is going to be a difficult one. Tell me.
How, as an author, do I get those changes taken out so they're no longer in the XML file? So that they're gone? Because when I submit a Word file, I can zap all the chap changes and that data's gone before the publisher sees it while we're internally editing. The things you don't want other people to know.
If you are an author, if
anyone
you're
else to know.
the first time that you submit, there'll be no changes. That's your first version.
Okay.
So you make you can put 20 references, then delete them all.
Yeah.
When you submit, those will be on. Those will be gone. This is from the time that you submit it.
Okay.
Any changes since. Phew, got out that one. So now, how do we put a reference in? Let's go to PLOS ONE and find the latest paper they've published. There are different ways. We've got links
Referee
to.
won't like that.
Why?
It's just a random reference.
It's not a random reference. Oh well, enough. There's so much crap being published these days. No one will ever know. No one reads these things. I'm sorry. I know my clients are probably listening now. Right. DOI, and I say, okay, before reference 2, I want to add a reference. It says, right, add reference above this one. Yes. Is it a journal? It's a journal. These are just things to make life easy. That's the DOI, and immediately it's got all the details. Okay?
All right.
And we can get this from Crossref. We can get this from that page. We scrape that page, and it's got all the details. Say OK. The structured XML goes into the structured data goes to the XML, and it's added here. Okay. And if I want to take reference 6 and I say I want to delete this, yes, I do want to delete reference 6. And if you go back, you'll see that any citation to 6 is deleted as well. Okay? And it'll be renumbered in the final thing. And when I've completely finished all this, I can say I've finished.
And you can undo it.
Yes, yes, you can. You can undelete. You can say restore. You can do that for pictures as well. So now I look at this again. You see, it's gone to a different stage. It says edited. This is now, say, it's nearing publications. It's been copy edited. Everyone, authors' queries have gone back. There's no files going back and forth. It's just XML. Right at the end, if I check this out again, and I say, well, approved for publication, yes, it'll say, no, some of the edits are yet to be finalized. Okay, someone has to say, I approve these, right? So I go here and say, yeah, now if I click on that, it says changes made by Kaveh, bold, italic, accept or reject. Accept. Reject. Reject becomes gray, accept is blue. And if there are millions of them, I can say, for this paragraph, accept all changes, or for this whole paper, accept all changes. Now, I say publish. That is a publisher-specific thing. It'll take the XML and the PDF, or maybe two PDFs, which I haven't shown you yet, sends it to the publishing platform, and it's published. So we got clients now who are just publishing this.
You haven't typeset it with tech yet.
We haven't typesetted with tech. This is the cream. This is the crescendo coming now. So we looked at the XML. Now I say I want to see the PDF. Click the PDF. The XML is converted to tech without you knowing it, and the PDF is downloaded. And this is the changes I made. And if you look at the references, they're correct. There are 7 references. Whatever I added is there. Some +1 there. This about the whole thing is redone as per the client's PDF. Okay.
And the settings of this journal.
Sorry?
And the settings of this journal.
For the settings of that journal.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Style.
So what you have is one class file that's written for that particular journal. It runs through that. Now clearly, if it's a complicated double column thing, you need some changes. Now, what we will have is you can right click. This is it's coming in 2016. From the XML, you want to carry through, put a bit like SyncTech, but from the XML. You click on here, you say, hyphenate this word. It'll go back, find the XML for that word, put the right processing instruction. We put processing instructions that have tech commands in them. So you say hyphenation, etc. That pops out into the tech file as a real tech instruction, and you get a new PDF. That's the idea. So what we're doing is we want to put tech. We want the whole world to be using tech without knowing it. Okay. So that's the idea. That you go from XML is right in the center. You don't know you're writing XML. You don't know you're using tech, but it's fast publication, accurate publication, and cheaper publication. Joseph.
Well, 2 obvious questions. The first is this is tied to a particular publisher. So if I take a classical manuscript and I get rejected from publisher X, I reformat it and I swear at their template because my boss gives it to me to do because it's pain in the neck. Or if it's a full paper, I don't have to do that because it's a classical manuscript, so I don't have to reformat, which is easier. But other than the references, but here it's tied to your thing, so I still have to extract it all back out when I get rejected.
Okay.
And that's the first bit. I've got another one. But
let me answer that. You're absolutely right. You don't want to be tied to a particular publisher unless you might have one publisher which has got letters, very specific thing. You want to write for that publisher, then you can go in and write for that publisher. However, if I'm writing a paper and if I reject it, I want to go somewhere else. Well, I can go in. So we'll have an authoring tool. You go in and write. You say I want to write. You write your paper. You press the button. You say send to Nature. Now Nature is obviously going to reject you or me.
That's good.
If now you want to say, yeah, nature materials and it's a letter.
Yeah.
Now, nature materials needs 4 keywords, for example, needs the abstract.
Yeah.
It'll check, it'll say, no, you need two keywords. You put the keywords in. And the keywords can come from the database of nature, so you just pick the right ones. If that doesn't work, you press a button and you send to someone else. The same data can go with another XML, with the correct XML to, I don't know, PNAS or AAAS. It'll say this time, no, sorry, you need 5 keywords. So the same data can be sent to different
but that
people.
needs the publishers to buy. What I mean is
Yeah.
as an author, I don't really care as an author, I don't really care. I care that they take my papers. And so if I've got control of my manuscript,
Yeah.
I can send it to whoever.
Yes.
Whatever system they're using.
Yes.
Whereas this way, I can only do it if they're buying in. Otherwise, can I get the
Yeah,
the
you
version
can get
I can then back
you
out?
can get out you can, if you want. Yeah, you can take out the XML if you want. You can take out a Word file.
Yeah, right.
Actually,
Yeah.
you can output a Word file from here. So the advantage it gives you, you're still collaborating with other people. It gives you a Word file out, or you can get a text file if you want. You can get a text file out, or you can get a PDF file.
Yeah.
Okay? But the idea is we want to get away from having to, if you take out a Word file, that's going to be sent out to people like us again, to typesetters. It's already in XML. So the publishers now we're talking to, they like the idea that basically they don't need typesetters. Right? Once you've written it, it's already in XML. We want to get away from that. You can give nature XML from the start. At the moment, publishers are not set up for it. If you say, here's my XML, they wouldn't know what to do with it. But if you say, here's my Word, say, fantastic, we'll send you to create XML.
If you've got if the author supplies a really rubbish, unstructured Word file, how do you get decent XML from it?
You don't. There's no automated way of doing that. They can cut and paste
So
in
who
here.
does the XML?
At the moment, we do that.
Oh, you do.
There's an important stage in this whole process, which is the paper being accepted. When the paper is accepted for publication, possibly subject to revision, there's a workflow that takes place, and Kaveh described that workflow at the beginning. Now, if somebody submits their manuscript as a manuscript written by hand, it can still be considered for publication and accepted.
Yeah, sure.
And this would not be an end-to-end system because the author wouldn't be involved. If the author doesn't want to engage with the system, then it's not an end-to-end system.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. If the author sends whatever file, Word file or handwritten or PDF, someone still has to convert that to XML. But what I'm saying, then once it's in XML, then it can go through here. The proof checking is done through here. The copy editing can be done through here. The final, if there's a tiny correction at the end, the publisher can do that. Press the button and publish it.
You actually have it inside.
Well, my question is probably a bit unfocused. I mean, I've done a lot of reviewing for Elsevier in the past, and I'm thinking of my own experiences there. Now, I realise that I'm not as up to date as you guys in the markup system, but you seem to be really explaining two things, or 2 or 3 separate threads.
Mm-hmm.
One is you're suggesting that XML is the appropriate apotheosis of markup,
Yes.
as opposed to HTML. Now, I'm not completely clear what the sort of the relationship between those two is, but you're sort of saying, well, people are fairly familiar with HTML through web publishing, but XML is the next step on, and presumably has some maths capability as well, and is tied into complete Unicode description of the fonts. So that must be a good thing seen around the world as a good thing.
It is right now. Yeah, you're right. You're about 15 years out of date, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
So-
well, that's fine.
Without being... No. Actually, funnily enough, there's a movement towards back into HTML, which is not a good thing.
But that's the
Yeah.
background sort of
Yeah.
choice of technology.
Right now, every single publisher, I think without exception, wants XML.
And so when I have been part of that reviewing system for Elsevier,
Yes.
then I forgot what the name of their system is, but I log in with.
Yes, but at that point, you don't deal with XML. You're just dealing.
No, but I'm dealing with
the peer review system.
Everything layered on top.
Yes.
So I'm really saying your talk has been to do with promoting XML as a technology of choice, an online technology of choice.
I'm saying XML is.
That is the workflow for academic publishing.
Yeah, I'm putting the whole process. If you look at it right now, there's a peer review platform, or several of them. Your manuscript goes in, then comes out. Then it goes into another workflow platform. Then it goes into another.
Well, no, I don't see what you've described, apart from this technical layer, as being any different. Well, a bit different, but not structurally, conceptually different from how Elsevier works today.
Yes, the fundamental difference is there is ever only one file from the start to the end, and that's XML. Right, in the cloud.
I don't know how Elsevier's current system works. You have to do it, but
yeah, yes, and it's like most publishers. The XML is done further down the line. So when you do a peer review, you're looking at the Word file or PDF file. Then it goes to, if it's accepted, it goes to a typesetter who will go through some sort of system to convert that into XML. So what I'm saying is, wouldn't it be nice if we have XML from the authoring, from the start, because there's no quality control, there's nothing to go wrong.
Dealing with the particular journal I dealt with, the lingua franca was latex.
Yes, but even that, further down the line, that is Elsevier converts everything to XML. Yeah. That would have converted to XML. Now, suppose something goes wrong in the conversion to XML. You won't know. This system, everything that you see comes from XML from the start.
No, I can understand you're pushing off if you have a universal technology that's tied into all fonts in the world.
No, I think you're missing the point. Well, if I may say so. Yes. It's not a font. It's
No. If this is the apotheosis of markup system,
yes,
starting in 1980 something,
yeah,
the IBM guys now have forgotten it, and the HTML.
Yes.
I mean, I actually went. This is off topic. I went to an HTML users meeting in
yes,
the UK, and I put my hand up and said, "How do you do mathematics?"
Yes.
And at lunchtime, no one talked to me.
No.
They turned their back. They literally turned their back on me. Goldfarb.
Okay.
That's the man. IBM Goldfarb.
By the way, the mathematics you saw in there, we edit in LaTeX. That is, as soon as it's converted to XML, that can be converted to MathML on the fly. When you double click, it's converted back into tech. You edit, and then goes back into MathML.
Can I ask a question? So it's very nice if you're doing text and you've got images which are images, and you've got possibly mathematics. There's lots of other software, and again, if you're working with Word, with DDE, you paste your file in, you can edit, you can double click and edit arbitrary files from other software in place in your manuscript. So I've got an example here. I've got Kendraw, my day job. I double click it in my Word file and I can edit it. I lose that in your system. That makes it more difficult for me as an end user. I'm going to say no. I'm going to stick with Word, because if I do it that way, I can. The workflow is suits me. The fact that it helps the publishers, I don't care.
No, the idea is to help everyone, but
can I make a suggestion on this discussion, which is that we don't express our personal opinions. We share our experience, but we don't express our personal opinions. So the thing is, Kaveh works in publishing. Not in publishing, in typesetting, and has produced a system that has a number of interesting points to it for a number of reasons. And I think the important thing is not whether we like it or not, though that is important, but whether we understand it.
No, it's a reasonable point.
I've made myself
about whether an author's...
No, exactly. It's a technical point.
Whether it's
a technical point.
For your current workflows.
You're right. Okay. Most. Okay, that's a very specific thing.
Well, it's the whole of chemistry is kind of that.
Okay.
Because we all use Kendall.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, but I think that's a specific use case. Now, is there no web service for ChemDraw that you can double click?
Not at the moment. You can't. You want to be able to save the files out as CDXs, Kendalls, so you can get them out.
That sounds like a business opportunity.
You should be able to.
There's lots of nowadays JavaScript-based chemistry editors. None of them produce decent. The problem is they're good for doing searches where you don't care what it looks like. You just care about connectivity. They're rubbish for doing stuff you want to get published.
In 10 years' time, this device, perhaps, will mean that people won't be using Word.
No, it won't, Jonathan.
I think that
Let's
counts
not.
as a personal.
I think let's move on from yeah.
I've got another question
Yes,
about the revision control.
Yes.
From the words checkout, I understood one person at a time. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Correct.
And do you keep the revisions all together? So you've got a linear tree of changes. That has its advantage. You don't branch simply because only one person can change at a time.
Correct.
Now, do you keep the change? One thing I wasn't quite clear about. Do you keep the changes, all of the changes, in a single XML file, or do you have versioned XML?
One XML file.
One XML file.
So the XML files gets bigger and bigger. We call it the rich XML.
So yes, okay. So after a few changes, it must be quite rich.
Well, not rich, but it's only it's not that much content.
No, sure.
But we keep it all in there, so you know who did what at what point and what they did to it.
No, I was thinking the markup might get a bit complicated if you have changes on top of changes.
It is complicated. You got to, for example, that it's very difficult. Like if I change, put a letter in the middle of a word, is that the insertion of is it a word that changes something else? That can get very complicated. We've sort of worked around that.
Don't really have to look at that very often, do they?
Well,
it's all
you're looking, but no, we've got to work out how to save it so that the track changes are shown properly.
Right.
But it seems to what we've done seems to work. It can always get better.
But essentially, it's a daybook. You're doing daybook record rather than being able to go back to a particular point. Like if you do some editing and realise that what you did was a load of rubbish, really, and you've got totally tangled.
Yeah.
With an ordinary version control system, you can go back to what it was last Friday, and then start.
Yeah, I think we are saving that. We can do that too.
Yeah.
But we can also do it on a paragraph by paragraph basis. We sort of we have chunks because we find that there's lots of ways of doing diff, but you get confused as to what's going on, or word track changes, for example. They become a nightmare. But somehow we've sort of worked out a way that it's useful.
So you find that you're simply essentially it's essentially a linear daybook recording of changes.
I think so. Any change that you have, it goes in situ inside the XML.
Right.
So I don't know if that's called a daybook or not.
Daybook is that's what in accounting you say. It's just you only have a single thread that of change.
There's a timeline.
There's a timeline.
Yes.
You're following a timeline.
Yes.
So you put in at the top. This is chatted in now.
No, it's not stored that way. It's stored in situ.
Oh no, maybe also. But it's not.
But we can save the time as well. So if you want to have from that, we can actually have any kind of diff after. Chris?
I gathered from this that you had this wonderful structure XML editor to do this.
Wonderful.
This wonderful structure editor.
What's that?
People edit your XML.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's basically it's an HTML front end, but as it saves as XML. So it converts to, it's like an HTML editor, but
I don't know any wonderful HTML editors.
Well, no, this is actually I think it's tiny MCE that we've modified. We don't want to.
I don't know the details. I'm just pointing out that you have one.
Yes.
But you expect your authors to have one too.
No, the authors use that. You log in.
This is web interface.
That they use.
They use whatever web browser.
Hold on, they're not your authors. They're the publisher's authors.
Are the publisher's author?
Understand?
Yeah. Yes.
So how do you force them to use it?
Right. you can never force an author to do anything. Just like you can't force, right, as I say,
Or how do you supply it?
to a good approximation,
How do you supply it to them?
how do you
Is it a
supply this
cloud-
to
is it
them?
a cloud-based?
It's cloud-based, yeah. It's in the cloud, they
No,
log
don't
in.
say that so dismissively. A lot of the world doesn't like cloud-based systems
Correct.
and doesn't want to use them.
Correct. So, 90% people won't use this. They'll use still Word for a long time to come. I guess.
Well, Word is doing all this in the background anyway, so I don't see the difference these days actually.
You haven't changed much, have you, Chris? So,
Of
so
course not.
okay,
Why should I change?
no, right.
So the rest of the world.
But if we get a Word file, that Word file can be converted to. Okay, so what I've
I'm
got
saying
is
Word itself-
I've got authoring.
Word
I've got.
itself is writing all this XML for you. Actually.
Well, they say that, but you know, it's not good XML.
Yeah, I'm
That's the
as
problem.
well, yes.
Yeah, it's not good XML. The client says, this is my DTD, this is JATS DTD with
Yeah,
this
sure,
flavor or
yeah,
that
okay.
flavor. Our system actually writes that JATS DTD.
Yeah,
So if you have that, it just reads. So the idea is, you got collaborative authoring, but that's just one of these. Now, if they give you Word file,
Yeah.
there's a one-time conversion of that either through a system or through cut and paste or through some typesetter in India to turn that into XML.
Yeah, but-
From then on, it can be in the
But
system.
after that, the author would have to use your system.
After that, the author will use it for proof checking, right? So instead of getting a PDF, they get a link.
Yeah,
They
sure.
click on that link, they go there, and they see this, and it says, for example, there might be a query here,
Yeah, sure.
and they answer
You've
the
got
query.
interface for all that, but
Yeah.
they have to do that on the cloud.
They'll do that on the cloud, and they'll have to do that. But they will do that. In fact,
They
most
will do
publishers
that.
are used. Almost every publisher now, Elsevier, every single paper, and Springer, apparently you don't get PDF file. You get a link. You go online. You get a system like this, and you answer questions and you make any changes.
Just like editing Wikipedia pages.
Yeah.
Except
Yeah.
slightly different.
I think we better move on, guys, because we're getting late.
That's all right. for
I know it's a
text, but
popular talk.
Anything else?
I think we're in the general discussion area.
You can lunch area. I'm not
Depends on what stick lunches, but yes.
Because there were 3 talks this morning. Kaveh's was one, I gave one, and Joseph gave one. And I think Joseph did well to put the 3 together because they are related, or at least along the theme of web services.
Thank you, Joseph.
And perhaps we can have some remarks or questions that will sort of round everything off before we have lunch.
I had a more general question on that talk, whether publishers have asked you to investigate software for plagiarism, which of course is becoming a very big thing.
So you can, all of these things are now available as web services. So there's something called iAuthenticate.
I work at the Open University. Universities for teaching are much more interested in plagiarism than journals are, because if you plagiarise a journal article, you get hammered fairly quickly most of the time. Whereas if you plagiarise as a student essay, you don't get hammered in the same way if you're not.
You can get away with it.
Well, you have a smaller, less critical audience.
Speaking as a lecturer, the plagiarism software was a pain in the butt because every if then else, every loop which had I as the loop counter.
Oh, well, you go to jail for that.
Or J counted as plagiarism. I turned it off.
Can they unwind your degree though? If they catch you, like with Warden, where if you get caught with an EPO, like 6 years, they've got 6 years. They got up for 6 years to find the technology to catch your cheating method. and then you got all your rewards stripped.
When I used to teach maths, we would be very happy if they could copy the thing out from somewhere correctly.
Can I ask a quick question of Carl? Lots of things that we do involves other stuff as well. So, for example, in recent times, I've had to use proof trees and typeset proof trees or diagrams in maths. And what you would want as an author is for you to be able to plug that in. And typically, when you do it here, you want to make sure that the fonts are the same fonts that you use elsewhere, all that sort of stuff. Can you plug that into the
Okay,
system.
all of the things that you're saying, that's all in the 1%,
Right.
right?
Oh, yeah, sure,
99%
Yeah.
is the big thing now. Biomedical, life sciences. That's the growing area of publishing, and all that is GIF files and PNGs dumped in there. Usually,
So-
and a lot of publishers now.
So no
Quite
semantic content.
A lot of publishers now are actually publishing everything in bitmap, even if you send
Wow.
vector. It's absolutely mind-boggling. I put from
We've always been asked for tips.
well, no, they are
For 20 years we've been asked for tips.
well, they say TIFF or EPS, and if you send a vector EPS, you look on there are publishers, open access publishers. You can look at everything. I won't name them, but the huge ones. I've got a blog post on my site so you can see that. As far as I can see, every single EPS is rammed into a bitmap. That means all semantics gone, all accessibility gone.
I've got something to say about this, which is about 8 years ago, I got JISC funding to set up a web service that typeset formulas, math formulas using tech as a web service, and it produced PNG bitmaps. And they were editable. They still are.
How can you do that? How's it done?
They're bitmaps. They're valid PNG bitmaps. They're editable.
What, in Photoshop?
No, in tech.
Okay, so you got a link from each bit to the.
No. I
You've
put
got
the
the formula
text
embedded.
source.
Trade secret, he's not going to tell you.
I put the text source, and for that matter, the DVI output, into the bitmap. PNG allows you to have custom segments, and I put in a custom segment that says, here's the text source,
Okay.
here's the log output, here's the DVI output. For something like a ChemDraw, you can either put the ChemDraw source in it, or you could put a secure hash, as used by Git, to the folder in the repository, or the file in the repository, that gives you that thing. So it then becomes editable, because you click on it and your system says, blah, 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 blah. Here's the secure hash, I can find that secure hash, it's editable because I can dereference the secure hash.
It's useful, huh?
So, and that's a system that's probably possible with any bitmap system. Well, no, probably not BMP, because that's, unless you resort to stenography, which you can.
Publishers are way behind that, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So
The other thing you can do is Xerox produced a very nice photocopier where you put a dirty, horrible document, office document onto it, and you press the button, and out it came out, beautiful and clean. And what they did was they read the barcode and got the document, printing it. And that's precisely what I'm suggesting here. It's and that's why I mentioned stenography, which is simply you put a hidden message in the diagram saying this is where it comes from.
Okay.
And then you can't lose it. I think the really important thing what Kaveh has done is he's saying desktop software is not the way to go. It's server software and web clients.
On that note, shall we have some lunch?
Yeah.
Thank you. What a great session there.